Uh-oh. We almost made it. You live and you learn, folks.
Will they hold? Only time will tell.
We got a little plumber strap mount. That's an upgrade. We have a vacuum. We made hoses and they didn't leak. I need to tighten the belt up. She's jumping around a bit. Hopefully, a few minutes we'll have ice cold AC. I think we're there. Ambient is close to 100. And we're down real, I mean, it's below 50. Well, our 69 GTO is back in the shop. And of course, we're not gonna put a hood on it, fix all the body work in the back. Oh no, we're in Texas, so we got to put some AC on this thing, stat. Just go out, do something that makes you happy, but make sure you're doing it on full blast. So for this kit, went on Amazon, found the cheapest looking belt driven AC setup that I could find for the GTO. And I wanted to do belt so we could compare vent temps between the belt driven units and the electric unit that I have on the Chevelle. So I've already come in here, removed the factory condenser, kind of devising a plan of how to mount the new one. And you will need some brackets. So I already got a kit. And this guy is gonna kind of mount just like this diagram here. So pretty much any manufacturer of these old style engines like small block Chevy, big block Chevy, Pontiac, Buick, you can find a bracket set up for a sand-in compressor. So as long as you can do that and you have a spot like we do, like the entire passenger side has absolutely nothing, you can mount a compressor, have air conditioning. You will need, for this kit, AC crimping tools. So we're gonna cut to fit and crimp. But if you don't, and you wanna go super budget, man, they do give you the hose clamps. And these fittings are barbed if you really wanna chance it. So it's up to you. I recommend crimping. But we're gonna install this system, charge it, check out our vent temps, see if we're closer to like a 40-degree vent temp, which is more or less like a factory vent temp. The best I could do on the electric AC was low 50s, and that's when it's, you know, not incredibly hot outside. So let's go ahead and get to work, start mounting this thing up.
Okay, let's work on getting this compressor and the bracket mounted. So first off, on this Pontiac engine, I did go ahead and clean out the threads that I'm gonna use. Just used a thread chaser. This guy mounts first like this. You shouldn't have any issues like clearing the valve cover or anything like that. We're gonna have to move this dipstick around once we get the compressor in place. These Allens, metric and standard, didn't fit in them very great. So if that tells you anything about the quality that we're dealing with here, there you go. So that's step one, bracket mounted to the head. All right, so next we're gonna need pull some bolts out of the water pump. Ooh, that guy was really loose. Interesting. Don't think I'm gonna be able to get in that one. I'm gonna have to grab a open-end box in for that guy. We can go ahead and pull the 9/16 though, I think. Just hoping nothing leaks. Oh, come on. Put a lot of goo on these bolts, as you can see. Maybe I can get this guy with an extension. All right, got those out. Let me get the bracket positioned and set up with the spacers and everything. Okay, so I recommend once you find your bolt, which we're gonna do the large diameter bolt first, go ahead and put just a tiny bit thread sealant. It's going in through the water pumps. It's always kind of a good practice. And on this bracket, we're going through the large hole here. And probably would have been smart to put the spacer on first before the thread sealant. This guy, we're just barely loosely gonna place this where it needs to go. So we do still have 2 more bolts to put, and then one of these bolts actually has a washer behind it, the bottom bolt. So up against the block through the bracket. And these are 5/16 bolts. They're smaller than your large bolt there. They must have this belt spacing just perfected to know that you need a 3/8 washer right there. There you go. That's the front bracket. I'm gonna grab my impact, tighten these guys down, then we'll start throwing the compressor in. All right, let's start loosely putting the compressor in here. So we're gonna have a bolt, spacer, and she's gonna go here, maybe. That gets us pretty close. We're gonna let that guy rest for a second here. I'm guessing when you put the front bolt in, it'll kind of snug everything up. Hope. That's the theory. Let me grab that bolt. All right, so got this guy kind of snugged up, not totally smoked on, and then this turnbuckle is gonna be next. So bolt this guy on, and again, our dipstick is right in our way. We'll fix that later, don't worry about that. And then we have 1 more bolt, 1 spacer, and a nut left. So spacer goes in between the bracket and the turnbuckle. We're gonna have to spin this guy out or move the compressor in a hair. I think we're gonna want to turn the turnbuckle. That's about as close to the engine as I want this thing. So you spin this guy one way, it's gonna lengthen. The other way, it's gonna get shorter. And that's how you tighten your belt, if you guys have never messed with a turnbuckle setup before. And again, these Allens, the bolts are just not great. The sizing on them, super weird. Standard's too big. Metric, like, doesn't fit great. Don't know what I'm dealing with here in this kit. As long as it'll tighten up one time, then I'm probably okay. All right, that one's tight. I mean, I'm happy with this. Alignment's been super simple. All the bolt holes and everything, didn't have to booger anything out. I mean, look at this. This is a pretty sweet setup. We just gotta find a belt. It'll go from here to down here on this setup. So I'm thinking we're gonna have to use middle groove and the first groove on the crank pulley. But I will go ahead and take a look and see what I got. See if we can fish something in there. Okay, so here is our belt setup. Might be tying that transmission line a little bit out of the way. We got palm strike distance between the spinning compressor and our transmission line right now. So maybe we could, yeah, pull that guy down and put a zip tie on her. But belt ended up being, this is a 75/85 that I just found on the shelf. I have a ton of belts. Like every car I buy has 3 extra belts in it, and I just save them. So there is a point of no return on your adjustment here. So I got oil fill pointing straight up, and that's kind of how I recommend to do these. Don't tilt them real far one way or the other. Stay within like 20 degrees of top dead center. So if you keep tilting this guy, it's not gonna keep tightening. It's actually gonna loosen. So there's really just one kind of sweet spot. You can get it where it's tightening, because once you pass over and start heading down this way, it actually loosens the belt. So we're set up, got to do a little tidying up, you know, like our floppy dipstick and just random spark plug wire hanging out. But I'm gonna get our belts back on, and this kind of concludes the compressor mounting portion of the program. Well, so I went ahead after the compressor was mounted, and I told you guys I was using this groove, the front one. I switched it to the back one. You guys can see belt alignment much better. But I went ahead and made the discharge hose, ran it over. I had to section out a little piece, the radiator support for the hoses to run. And then I got the condenser mounted over here, kind of in the front. There will be a fan. And yes, that's plumber's strap over there holding it on one side. And I got a legitimate, you know, mount over here, but she's solid, not going anywhere. So electric fan's gonna mount on the front of that. Radiator will go back, but we still got to make a few more hoses, and I did want to show you guys at least one hose. So I just have this kind of cheesy Amazon hydraulic job, and we're gonna do a number 6 hose. So number 6 in this kit is actually the same as an 8 SRB, which is like I guess a reduced barrier hose. But once you get the bit, just, you know, put in the tool here. You want to feed your line through, kind of hold it centered. You want to twist your valve to work, and then you're just going to pump it. And I hold it, keep this thing very centered in here as well as you can. You don't need to feed it all the way through. You just need to make sure there's collar everywhere this thing is pressing down. And you can kind of see this is the gap right here that this thing has to crush. So you go all the way to there. Will they hold? Only time will tell. But it's a process. And we're almost there. And I go full bore till this thing won't go anymore. And you just twist your release. Bam. She's out. And that actually came out really nice. That might be the best one I've done. And you can kind of see the crimp marks and everything. But now I just have to do the entire rest of the system. So this is gonna be going to the dryer, and then from the dryer, we gotta go into the inside unit, and then we still need to put the suction, the big hose, onto the compressor. So Got a few more lines to make, but man, we're moving along, and that's, you know, that's as easy as it is to make one of these AC lines. Whether it leaks or not, that's another story, but at least we got it crimped. I'm gonna go ahead and fit this up on the compressor or on the condenser, get it tightened up, and then make the rest of the hoses, and we can move on to everybody's favorite part, wiring. Because that's, some stuff's gonna have to get cut and lengthened. This is essentially how the wiring comes. And if you don't have just perfect placement for everything, it's not gonna be in the right spot. So we're gonna have to do some cutting and splicing. Don't worry about it. I don't think this car really cares, but let's go ahead. I'm gonna get all those hoses made, start wiring this thing up, and we'll be ice cold real quick.
Let me turn off my loud air conditioner. Sorry. The cooler zone is loud. You were wondering. So, where have we gotten? Let me turn the camera around here. Our dryer mounted, wired, suction side going in to the inside unit. You got the, I guess this is the out going into the dryer. That's right. I don't know, but that side's going also into the inside unit, coming out, going to the condenser. I got the condenser mounted up front. Got a little plumber strap mount. That's an upgrade from the metal zip tie, if you guys didn't notice that earlier. But what I wanted to show you guys is I've got the gauges. Look, that is vacuum. I vacuumed this thing for about an hour while I was just kind of messing around with some wiring. And I'm gonna take off until tomorrow. I'm gonna let this thing sit under vacuum for over 12 hours. And that will for sure let me know that all these crimps that I did with this Amazon setup, everything's gonna work. Because I don't know. They don't look the prettiest, but they seem to function very well. And they did give hose clamps with this kit, so it's gotta seal better than a hose clamp. But I mean, I've seen guys do it. I mean, I've just finished a car that's how the AC was. Everything was hose clamped together, and I guess it worked at one time. But we got the valves closed. I'm gonna leave this guy under vacuum, turn the vacuum pump off, and just leave the vacuum that's in the system and let it sit. Let's see what else. So my relay, might be a little tough to see. My relay for the whole system is right here. You've got one wire that goes into the evaporator, which is your inside unit. You got this wire that goes to your dryer. You've got a wire that plugs into your compressor. You got a wire that goes to your fan, which I have mounted in front of the radiator, and it's a puller, so it's pulling air in. And these two guys are pullers also, of course. And then you see down here, there's a ground. If it'll focus. There's a ground that I grounded to the frame, and I cleaned it up before I did that. And then for temporary purposes now, I just have this wire. This is your 12 hot going over to the battery. That's the only wire I had to extend. So I had to cut off the end, butt connect it, run it over to the battery. That's your 12 hot. That is all the wiring for this kit. So all the wiring that's under the engine or under your hood, if you had one, that's it. That's all your wiring. Inside on your unit, you need to find 12 volt switched and a ground, which the whole dash is made out of metal, and I got it grounded however many places to try and make gauges work and lights and things like that. So I can probably ground to the dash or the firewall or anywhere else there's a ground. And 12-volt switch, just find you a spot on the fuse panel that's 12 volts switched. You want 12 volts when you're in the on position, 0 volts when you're in the off. It kind of doesn't even matter if it's 12 volts in the start. Whatever, that's up to you. It's not probably a great practice on an electrical component like this to be getting cranking voltage, but to each their own. I'll just use a switched ignition source with probably no voltage on crank. I mean, I've been out here not too many hours, guys, really. This kit's pretty complete. The thing that really impressed me the most is the bracket. I mean, this thing's solid, super solid. Mounted everything great. My old Amazon crimper seemed to have crimped everything. The worst part was, so they used one die does 2 different types of hoses. So one die will do number 6 AC hose, and it will also do a number 8 with the reduced barrier hose. So if you get one of these kits and you can't figure out where your 6 is, there's one of them that has 6s and 8s on it. That's the one you got to use. It'll probably say 8 SRB or something like that. But that will help you out, hopefully. So I'm gonna give this guy till tomorrow morning, let it cook, get all the dirt and water and everything out, and then we'll start charging her up, which, man, you guys always have a ton of opinions how to do that. And I guess I'm just gonna have to hang this thing from, I don't know, my light or something, since I have no hood. But let's pick this back up in the morning. All right, guys, so it's the next day. I got some paperwork to reference here, and good news. I don't know, it's gonna be very hard to see, but when the needle's pegged this way on the gauge, that's a good sign. You got vacuum. So we were 30 inches, I think that's mercury, on high and low side. It held for, I don't know, 14 hours. So we have a vacuum. We made hoses and they didn't leak. And we got all the connections tight. That's what you want to see when you're doing your AC system. So vac it down, let it sit. You don't have to necessarily let it set this long, but overnight's not a bad idea. I tidied up a little bit of the electrical inside the car, literally just plugged in the evaporator wire. I jumped a wire from the fuse panel where the old heat and AC fuse was into the indoor unit. And I turned it on, made sure that guy, the blower on the fan, does come on. It's grounded to the firewall. And man, the only thing we got left to do is put some refrigerant in this thing. And what I like to do when it's still under vacuum, you want to keep your high pressure side off. We got our fancy can tap here. We got both these valves closed, low and high. So you can hear when the can finally breaks the seal, it'll make a little tss sound. And now you just want to purge your hose just a little bit. Oh, this guy just springs, so we're gonna have to get it just right here. Maybe. Let me grab a screwdriver. Had the needle too far down on the can tap. So we're gonna let this guy purge. You can kind of hear the air hissing out. We ought to be good. There's not a lot of air trapped in this line. Get this guy tight. Now let's open up our cold side. And this should start pulling in from this can. There we go. And the can that I'm using is 12 ounces. This system calls for 12 to 16. So let's put in 12, see where that takes us on our low and high pressure, and we'll move on from there. So the ambient temperature today, 90. I don't know if you guys can see it, 90. So our low pressure gauge needs to be 45 to 55, high pressure 250 to 270. So when you're charging these, you don't ever open up your high pressure, just your low, and that's it. So I think it might be time to start the car. We do have a little bit of fluid in there. It's showing 55 PSI low pressure, and I don't see it pulling anymore. So let's go ahead, start the car, see where we can get. We need to turn the AC system on too. Compressor is spinning. I need to tighten the belt up. She's jumping around a bit. All right, I think we're pulling from the can. She's going down, and on the other side, we're kind of coming up. See if we can get this thing off high idle. She's a little loud. Okay, we're just gonna sit and wait. Let it take the entire can. I'm gonna kind of rotate it to about 3 o'clock occasionally. And we'll pick back up when I got a little more refrigerant in the system. Well, I switched to this style of can tap. I feel like maybe that other line was having issues with the self-sealing can. I think we're getting more refrigerant now. So we're like 24 on low, 180 high. So we're getting there. I'm gonna put the thermometer in the vents, just let it sit, start cooking, see how low we can get it. I mean, it's already pretty reasonably cool just feeling it here. But we're starting at a little over 80. Oh, it's already down to 60 right there. So 60. So I'm just gonna continue monitoring pressures. We're still a ways on our low side. I'm gonna feed it the rest of this can, just slowly, let it work. Hopefully, a few minutes, we'll have ice cold AC. We'll see. But definitely got to do something about that compressor belt. Wow. Okay, we're at about 35 and 225. I'm not going off this chart. I don't think this chart is 100% correct, because it feels like the thing is working perfectly. And I Googled a few 134 charts, and that is kind of where you want to be. You guys can see our vent temp is right above 40. The little different color on the temp gauge is 40. So I think we're there. I think we're charged. I used a can and just a little bit out of a second can, and I think the gauges, well, the gauges are correct, but I think what's on that chart, not perfect for this system. I don't know. I felt like I needed to stop, or I was gonna over pressurize it, and everything seems to be functioning perfectly. So maybe let's drive it around and see if moving some air through it gets us even colder vent temps. Okay. Let's take this thing out. Heard the compressor kick on. What are our feelings gonna be like about the belt versus the electric? I'm thinking the belt's probably got it beat by a lot. And I did tighten up the compressor belt about as much as I can. It needs a shorter belt. But we've got the thermometer in it. We're gonna monitor temps. Hopefully getting a little bit more air going through the condenser. Cool everything off. It's a beautiful day. Yeah, I can kind of already tell you, I feel a whole lot cooler air blowing on me right now. And it's a hot day. It's over 90 right now in the morning. Adjust my rear view. Uh-oh. World's slowest turnaround. Will we make it? I will pick back up at the shop, but in the meantime, while we're coasting, we've got 40-degree vent temp, folks. Look on the bright side, we might only have 3 wheels when we get home, but we got cold AC. Well, we almost made it. Good Lord, I was almost back to the shop. Let's see how far the wheel rolled. I'm gonna have to go find some lug nuts too now. So, final resting spot, wheel. Didn't mar this guy up too bad. Just hope the studs are good enough to take a couple lugs back on it. Yep. This is what happens when you got a zillion things to do, not a whole lot of time to do them. It's fun. Just keep telling yourself that. It's fun. Lug nut. Lug nut. They all came off at the same time. How convenient. Lug nut. So that's 3 out of the 4. Let's see. I can't find the last one. It's in here somewhere. Go get a jack and a torque wrench, like I should have done originally, but you live and you learn, folks. Live and you learn. Well, just like that, after running to the shop, getting the excursion and torquing every wheel down to 100 foot-pounds, we're back. These studs on the front are not designed for for this type of wheel. The studs are way too short. So that's one thing. Even if I did torque them, which I don't remember if I did or not, I think I'm gonna have to go to a shank style through lug or through wheel to the lug nut, which is not what was on this wheel to begin with. The other Le Mans I took these wheels off just had these here lug nuts, because I took the wheel and the lug nut, put it on the new car. So either we need new studs, shank style, and I think shank style most likely. I think it's good enough now to drive a mile or two on it though without killing it. Take two. All right, take whatever, 4 or 5, but I did want to show you guys ambient is right at 100. That's the triple digits. It's right under that. So that's going to tell you the difference. I think we're just going to drive around the ranch maybe. Since we got all the wheels on and we didn't do any really bad damage, why push it? Why push it? I mean, push it a little, right? But let's drive a lap. Let the air kind of move through the condenser. And let's look at what our vent temps are. But we were getting real close to 40. She's dropped to 60. I definitely feel cool air coming out. Like I can feel it hitting me. So performance so far versus electric. I think it's got it beat, and we don't have to have a giant alternator, but again, not everyone has like a serpentine setup that's easily accessible for a AC compressor. But if you do, I would look into this. This is like I think it's EC Auto. They make all kinds of belt-driven kits. Not sponsored. All right, folks, I think this is kind of where she steadied. 40 and some change, and I'm sitting still. So you got to remember that. Like, there's a chance this could go a tickle lower. But I'm out, sitting still, just in park, idling. So ambient is close to 100. And we're down real, I mean, it's below 50. There we go. Well, folks, don't let anybody tell you life doesn't have adventure, because man, this one's been a little bit of one since we got this GTO, and having the wheels shoot off in the driveway, just kind of par for the course lately. So it's how things have been going. And man, I can see this tire rubs this fender here very nicely. Perfect fitment and back spacing. Yeah, take a little knocking action to that. That'll fix that guy right up. So what'd we do today on this episode? Well, it's been 2 days, but today's the day with all the results. So I got a belt-driven unit with a bracket I bought off Amazon. The bracket's about $130. The AC kit, the in-cab part with all the compressor and the condenser and the fan and everything was, I think, $540 maybe and some change. So you're into it. You're over 600, you know, put together with everything that I got here. Then on top of that, if you don't already have it, you're gonna need, you know, the crimping tool, which I don't know how much I paid for that, maybe $80, $90, somewhere around there. The crimping tool and the ability to be able to use it, though it wasn't that bad. I won't say that that was hard. That was simple enough, but I did it and none of the hoses leaked, and I was totally shocked after a few of those crimps, the way they looked when they come out. But I think, you know, the big question is, how did it perform? We got our vent temps down to mid 40s, it looked like, idling, sitting, but again, I don't have a hood. That would change things. But again, I wasn't moving. So if I was moving, it might negate the fact that I'm sitting with no hood. And with that, you know, with the belt-driven compressor, I don't need an upgraded alternator. I don't need another battery. I don't need all these things with the electric AC, you know, to try and get it perform like this. So in conclusion, if you have the option, you want one of these hang-on units, I recommend the belt-driven compressor. It's just easier on your system. It's gonna perform way better than the electric. I've just had some issues with the electric, and I've not given up completely yet, but we're gonna see what happens in another video on the Chevelle. But if I had to buy the two, and my motor's set up, you know, easily for a bracket where I could put a compressor, buying this. Buying this 8 days a week, twice on Sunday. So that's my recommendation. You know, take it with a grain of salt. My wheel just fell off in the driveway. So again, take it with a grain of salt. And man, we're not too far off from finishing this. I'm gonna go buy a hood and I'm gonna do some hobo body work on the back, suck it down, get it where I can put the taillights and the bumper in. It took a collision in the rear at some point, and I think that's probably why it got parked. But other than that, you know, wiper all the linkages and the motor, and let's send her out on the road with the windows up, because she's got AC. We're gonna be cool. But man, I appreciate everybody watching. I hope you guys learned something or took something away. I'm not sponsored by any of these companies with these systems. This is just, you know, for my own personal knowledge, and to put that out there to you guys. Like, does this work? Is it worth putting on your car? I'm just trying to help people. I see these electric kits, you know, marketed heavily, especially on my feeds, social media, you know, and I don't think everyone knows everything that goes into one of those kits, or even one of these, you know. Like, if you buy the kit, did you realize that you got to make all your own lines or use hose clamps? I don't know, but I'm hoping this helped. And if it did, man, shoot me a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, even hype the channel. I hear that helps somehow. I don't know. I'm not an expert in any of this, but until you see me again, just go out, do something that makes you happy, but make sure you're doing it on full blast. Like that wheel, when it shot off, that thing was going, it's going at least 5 miles an hour faster than the car. I'll see y'all later.